All right, so in today's lessons, we're going to just kind of go over some terms that you may or may not already know. We're going to define congruent, quadrilateral, and parallelogram. We're going to compare and contrast the two, and then we're going to construct our quadrilaterals on the geoboards. And it's an app that allows you to construct that virtually. So the first thing I want to do is discuss, do you notice about these train tracks and how they are placed and how they're made?
The lines are parallel.
The lines are parallel, and I'm going to take that further. What does it mean to be parallel?
It means
It's a polygon.
So yeah, when it's parallel lines, it means that if you like traced lines along it, they would never cross each other.
Right, and that would be a huge problem for if a train were on two tracks that intersected, that train wouldn't go very far. So it's very important that these tracks are parallel. And that leads me to this. Now, parallel lines usually come in pairs, right? We're always discussing two types of lines. All right. So, like those train tracks, they're parallel lines, they cannot intersect, okay? So remember that. Now, when we're talking about shapes, we're talking specifically about parallelograms, these are the four types of shapes that have parallel lines. If you guys see the top right or top left, the parallelogram, and follow my cursor, I have parallel lines here, that's a pair, and then I also have parallel lines here, that's a pair. On my rectangle, I got parallel lines on the top and then parallel lines on my sides. Same with the rhombus and same with the square. So let's go ahead and move on. So now that we got parallelograms, I would like somebody to go ahead and unmute and tell me with what quad means and what these three images have in common having to do with the word quad. Dylan?
Quad means four, and there are four sisters.
Mm-hmm.
There's a quad bike.
Yes, and what's a quad bike? Why is it called a quad bike?
Because it has four wheels.
Four
like
wheels,
okay.
Like and then what about our last image there?
That is a trapezoid, and it has four sides.
Excellent, yep. Excellent.
And it is a quadrilateral.
Excellent. So when we're talking about quadrilaterals, we're talking about a shape that has four sides. So just like that suitcase, it had four sides. But then Dylan also referred to something as a trapezoid. Now, my question to you guys is, what's the difference between a quadrilateral, say a square, and a trapezoid?
The lines are not equal because like in a square, all the lines are equal, but in a trapezoid, some are a little bit longer.
Nice. So great. You notice in my square, I have all equal sides. That's why they're all red lines. In my rectangle, how many sides are equal?
Two sides are equal and two sides they're both equal, but
each set is equal.
Yeah, there we go. That's each set. Equal. Yep, each pair of parallel lines. Whereas my trapezoid, how many sets of parallel lines are equal?
That isn't really a trapezoid.
Yeah, it is.
Ooh, tell me more. Why wouldn't this or would this be a trapezoid?
It is a trapezoid because there are there's one set of parallel lines and one set of not parallel lines. But basically Dylan, I think what Dylan is thinking is because usually you would just see like the standard trapezoid with the left line the same amount as
the right
tilted
side.
Down.
True, but I think that it isn't a trapezoid. I sort of think that it's a trapezium. Trapezium.
Now that's that. So first of all, thank you guys for both expressing your thoughts and your arguments. What I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to go ahead and open up the chat, and I want you to chat. Yes, you think it is a trapezoid, or no, you do not think it is a trapezoid. And we'll go ahead and do a poll. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up publicly. Go ahead and drop that down into the chat. And as you do so, I think it's Kavi and Dylan were talking about when they're talking about sets of parallel lines. When we're talking about sets of parallel lines, we're talking about congruent equal lines. So when we use the word congruent, just think of that word meaning equal, okay? So that is a mathematic term. So when I have congruent, my square, all the sides are congruent, okay? That means all the sides are the same in length, okay? And then when I'm talking about non-congruent, we're talking about sides that are not the same, okay? So here I have a couple of shapes. So what do we notice about all of these shapes? What do all of these shapes have in common? And
They all have 4 sides.
they all have 4 sides. So that is one similarity. Is there anything else that's similar in all of these shapes?
They are all parallelograms.
They are all parallelograms. Now I have another question. Does everybody agree with that?
No.
And please explain.
Yeah, because of the rectangle.
The rectangle is not a parallelogram?
Yeah.
The kite and the trapezoid are not parallelogram. Parallel.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to
The
say.
kite, the trapezoid, yeah.
So let's think about this. When we're talking about a parallelogram, okay, we're talking about sides that are parallel. You only need.
Yep.
So I have a set of parallel lines on the top, the top and bottom. So by definition, a trapezoid is a parallelogram because of my two sides here. Oh, yep. Thank you, Ms. Capitan. Okay. And then look at my shape here, the kite. Would this be considered a parallelogram?
No, because it doesn't.
Sort of. Because they're going out and then in.
Right. If they're going out and then in, remember the definition parallel lines is that they never cross. So I have intersecting lines on the top, and then I also have intersecting lines on the bottom. Also, they're not congruent either. So by rule, that this would not be a parallelogram because of those intersecting lines. Does that make sense?
They're all polygons.
Say that again.
They're all polygons.
Great.
Yes. Yeah, they are all.
Because it has straight lines and they're closed.
Excellent. You are correct. We're going to do a little challenge, okay? I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to be giving you a link in the chat box that I would like you guys to go on. And this link is going to take you to a virtual geoboard, okay? So as I'm going to share my screen again here, I'm going to be giving you a hint of a shape that I am thinking of. And what you're going to try to do is make that shape on the geoboard using the bands onto the geoboard. So for example, we'll do the first one together. So my first one, the hint is opposite sides are congruent. Remember what congruent means? Means the same or equal, and parallel. So using that geoboard, and I'm just going to exit out of this real quick. Using your geoboard, can you guys see my geoboard? You're going to want to construct a shape that has two congruent parallel sides. And I'll go back to my hint here. Okay, I would like you to unmute yourself and we'll go ahead and share screen and see what you have.
That's not good. Okay.
And Miss Capitan, if you can help me find somebody to share a screen, that'd be great. It's hard to see. Opposite sides are congruent and parallel.
I did a rectangle because right here, these are both opposite sides
Uh-huh.
and they are congruent and parallel. And same with this other set right here.
Excellent. Okay. And is there another way to draw